Welcome back. I'm Rachel Laurie with Turnaround Marriage, and I'm here with Dr. Trudy Johnson, marriage and family therapist, who has written this incredible book, 10 Reasons Why Marriage Counseling Might Not Work. So we wanted to talk about that third reason that comes up for couples and the issue of baggage coming into the marriage, right? But we all
Yeah.
come into our marriage carrying our baggage from the past. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Rachel, I was astounded when I came across a statistic that 85% of problems in marriage were brought into the marriage from the family of origin. So that are right off the bat, couples are possibly in trouble with their marriage.
Oh my goodness, yes. And with the divorce rates as they are, more than 50%, I think it's 56% of
Mm.
the first marriage is ending in divorce. It's very likely that you were brought up in a home that was with divorced parents. And so if you're bringing that baggage in, and if both of you are bringing that baggage in, that can be so much to unpack because you didn't have maybe the best example, right?
And unfortunately, we send out the message, well, we're Christians. If we just get married, we'll have a great marriage. But we have no foundation to start with. We have no example. And it isn't the magic bullet just because, oh, I gave my heart to the Lord. Now my marriage is going to be great. Could be a lot of work that needs to be done in the area of learning how to be married correctly.
Sure, sure. Because if we don't have that good example of what does a Christian marriage look like? What are the proper roles of husbands and wives? How do we hear and understand each other and communicate lovingly and with respect? How do we trust each other and be honest with how we're feeling? If we don't have that good example, we can be repeating the same things that we loathed in our own parents or in our extended family. And here we are vowing we'd never do that and probably repeating those same exact things, right?
Exactly.
My goodness. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other types of baggage that we might be bringing into the marriage?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's very important in our family of origin how we learn to attach, how we actually learn to do a relationship. So for many, they learn that it's not safe to attach. So the minute they feel unsafe in a relationship, what are they going to do? They're going to run. They're going to get away. They're going to go off by themselves because it's not safe. And typically, the other person needs someone there to feel safe. So it creates a pattern of one person is getting away to get safe because attachment's so scary. The other person is feeling abandoned and they need someone there to feel safe. So
Mhm.
they can't help each other. They're doing the opposite thing to help feel attached and safe in the marriage. So attachment, how we learn to attach in our family of origin is so important. And very few of us, myself included, probably learned how to securely attach
Mhm.
from our family of origin.
Yeah, especially if your one of your parents was an alcoholic or you were adopted and you were ripped from your birth family's home
Mhm.
for whatever traumatic reason. There's so many reasons why we could be fearful of attaching or anxiously attaching, right? And so
Mhm.
there's been deep trauma, Dr. Trudy. I know trauma is kind of your heartbeat. You have such a heart
Mhm.
and such a skill with helping people to be able to resolve that past trauma. Can you talk a little bit about how you could come alongside and help somebody with some of those traumas?
Yes, well, trauma creates patterns. What I learned in all my trauma training, and I'm like, "Well, how do we put this through a grid of biblical and Christianese?" So I kind of combined all of my secular trauma trainings with and put them through God's lens to come up with a very unique way to help people with trauma. But what we need to do is get the pattern identified. In other words, in when they weren't safe, whatever it was, whatever situation that was traumatic. There's big trauma that could have been a huge event, could have been a little T trauma where it maybe wasn't so much, but it created a pattern of reactivity. So I help, hi, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and I partner to help identify what are those patterns of reactivity that are deeply embedded in a person's heart that cause them not to be able to feel safe in relationship.
Mm. It's so powerful. And what is the name of the framework that you've developed, Dr. Trudy?
Yes, I call it emet. Emet, trauma resolution. Emet is a Hebrew word for truth. And so we get Holy Spirit helps us go to the truth of the pattern at what age. Maybe it happened at 6 years old. We're not even aware of it. But
Mhm.
when we get unsafe, when we feel like we're alone and God isn't there, then we're going to revert back. And actually, we could feel like we're 6 years old when we're actually an adult. And
Mm,
we feel very insecure and unable to handle what's happening, what's coming towards us.
mm. Wow. And to be able to resolve that and to sense that God actually is with you and that you are safe, despite
Yes,
what's happened, and then to be able to then break free of those patterns that you've been trapped in. How powerful. And how would
yes,
that impact a marriage then if someone's trauma could actually be resolved and not be that triggering pattern?
yes.
Yeah.
The a spouse might say something as, for instance, I had a couple, and they wouldn't mind even if I told you this. He told her, "You're not going to wear that, are you?" Well, they were going to the beach, and had this little sundress thing on, and she thought it was really cute. Well, he just meant you might get that all dirty, or you're going to be in the sand. You're going to wear a dress, whatever. And but she had a stepfather who really harassed her about her how the way she dressed, and she would go when she went to school, he'd go, "You're not going to wear that, are you?" So
Mm,
that completely triggered her back to those days of dealing with stepfather.
mm.
And when husband was just said an innocent um, advice of maybe wanting her to wear something that was not going to get soiled there on the beach. And so it was a very innocent remark, but she responded and was angry and crying and everything, had no clue what he had done.
Wow. Wow. Well, the name of the help that Dr. Trudy offers is EMET Trauma Resolution Course, and you can find the links down below. Guys, if you have been affected by trauma and you are anxiously attached or you are fearful of attachment and you run the minute intimacy or closeness starts happening, you need to check out Dr. Trudy's EMET Trauma, and the links are down below. Maybe your trauma hasn't been so severe. I know there's lots of levels. Some people, what they've gone through, we can't even fathom it. Other people, smaller traumas might really set them off, even though it's in comparison. I know we can't really compare one to the next, but could you talk for a minute, Dr. Trudy, about what is trauma and how does it impact us?
Yeah, that we're hearing that word thrown around so much, especially in all the information overload that we have these days. But trauma basically means something happened, and it could be little. I was blindsided. I felt out of control, and there was no one to talk to. The
Mm,
important thing, there was no adult there to give us a correct rendition, a correct view of what just happened. So a child is going to automatically say, "Oh, that's my fault. Must have been my fault because I'm so flawed, because I don't have what it takes, whatever." So if there's an adult there, I even tell. I sometimes have someone coming with a child who's been sexually assaulted. Well, we're there talking. Parents, we're there, we're talking about it. I tell them, the mere fact that we're talking to adults about it, that actually might not end up being trauma because we need that adult help, which is why God gave us two parents to go to get the right view of what just happened. So it might be a tiny thing. I was blindsided, I felt out of control, and there was no one to talk to. So again, it could be just a grandma saying, "Wow, you're looking kind of fat today," where she's not really meaning anything terrible, but a child could interpret that in a negative way.
mm. Wow. Thank you so much for all of that. And so, for those of you who might be out there and your marriage is struggling, and maybe you haven't had super traumatic events, but maybe it's been those smaller things, and it's tough. You get activated easily, and one of you gets set off. I want you to check out the EMET trauma resolution that Dr. Trudy offers, and you can also check out the link for our turnaround marriage course. We can really help reteach the nervous system how to feel safe, how to settle down so that deep connection can grow. So check out the links below. Thank you so much, Dr. Trudy, for being here.
Thank you.